Hello and welcome to another day of streaming our video game development of our current game called Dream Machine. My name is Joshua Blair. I'm the founder and CEO of Icebreaker Games. Thank you guys for joining us. So just diving right into the project here. Yesterday we were really working on the father character and his animations and basically his AI script. And so if we give this a play here, you can see just naturally he's going to walk around and he's going to go through about, I think we had about 7 maybe 8 different animation states for him, and so he's basically just going to cycle through these states, and of course we had it set up so he does it pretty fast. I'll change that real fast, but in general, you know, he was able to, we were able to fix quite a few issues. We did have a bug yesterday, but we fixed that, and so now everything's looking pretty decent with him. I'm thinking today we're actually going to switch gears a little bit, have a little bit more fun, and I think we're going to work on the shooting character controller that we're going to need for some of these scenes. Not only are we going to need it for the scene in the apocalyptic city when the boy leaves the bunker, we're going to need it for that scene, but we're also going to need it for some of the dream levels. For example, one of the later ones, I think it's like level 9, is just this chaos, crazy battle royale kind of concept, and so we can easily set it up for that kind of scene. So it's going to be a little rough. We're gonna work through it. We're probably gonna have to do some scripting. I tried to prepare as much as I could, but it's gonna be kind of a laggy process. Anytime you're dealing with the character controllers and whatnot, that just happens. So it's just something we have to be prepared for. And looks like we're almost ready to go. I do gotta change something just real fast. Bear with me here. All right, and I am back. Sorry about that. Had to fix some of the stream information here. You can see he's still walking around. He's still doing his thing. We have him do quite a few. That was his 7th animation state, and so now he's going to his 8th and last one here. There's just a drinking animation over here on the chair. Nothing major. We'll probably add a lot more to him as time progresses, but I think for now, just having him in the scene, having him walk around, having him do things, is going to be a good start. You can see he walks on top of some stuff. Obviously, we're going to need to fix that stuff. We don't need him floating. We want him on the ground at all times. But that's kind of the stuff that we'll fine tune at a later point. Just real quick, I am going to change these wait times. We have him randomly waiting from 0 to 1 second on these, and I'm just gonna go ahead and change it from 30 to 60 seconds, and so that way if we do play this where we're actually just working on the child or something, he's not gonna be just walking around really fast. All right. So first thing, let's go into one of our scenes here. I think we can start off on either the apocalyptic city or probably dream level 9 here. Let's take a look at this one. I think this is the battle royale scene. Yeah, this is the one. You can see we have this character here. Now, this isn't necessarily the character we're going to run with. This is just one that I set up really fast. He's actually... looks like he's floating pretty good here. We can fix that real quick. But in general, you know, we're going to use a similar character like this. Somebody who looks kind of crazy. Somebody who's just enjoying the chaos of this apocalyptic event. That's kind of in the works of happening. It's not gonna... it hasn't officially happened yet, but it's going down. You can see his... I think his feet and his capsule collider are kind of messed up here. Kind of looking at this real fast. Not exactly sure why he's floating. If we look at the scene view, I mean, it's not obvious what's going on. You can see there's his character controller here. I mean, we have space in between him and the ground. And I think he was the only one where we really had this issue. I almost want to set up a different character here. We do have some other ones like the boys that we set up. If we go ahead and take in, like, for example, this character, I wonder if he floats as well. Yep. Something's going on here. I think yeah, okay. The way that this scene was done, for some reason, there's like this giant mesh collider. That's really weird. Like a giant mesh collider that's way too tall. It's because it's a textured environment here, so I understand the concept, but some of these they don't necessarily need this mesh. You can see it floats. I guess it's kind of hard to tell, but it floats way above. If I were to turn this off, I think our character would just fall through the ground. But if we were to open this up, take a look at it, we would either need a more accurate mesh collider, or maybe we can get by with just a box collider. Take a look now. Still a little high. I don't think I've ever had this problem before. Kind of an interesting one. I think normally Cinti does a good job of this. Just want to see if we go somewhere else, it looks a little bit better. Yeah, you can see you walking over here. The colliders look a lot better. That's something that we'll have to, I mean, this isn't necessarily the scene that we're gonna go with anyway. Like we're gonna change this up and make it look, you know, the way that we want to. I don't want to do too much to the scene today. But we still want something to work with here. All right. So if we go into the Battle Royale prefabs here and the characters, I mean, we guess we can still go with this topless male character here. Let's just move him over somewhere that doesn't look so janky when he walks. At least for now, we're not going to really, I don't need to really test the walking and floating concepts. I really want to just get right into the setting up the shooting mechanics. So if we play this, I think this looks much better. We'll use this environment here, this garage, this warehouse, as our testing environment. All right, so jumping right in here, couple things. Like I said, this is gonna be a little, you know, awkward and clunky at times. This is, you know, this is a process that, you know, isn't really quick. I think Unreal might have a better version of this, or even CryEngine. I know I've worked on CryEngine projects before, and giving your character a gun and getting him shooting, you know, can almost happen within the first hour of creating your game. A little bit different with Unity. There's a lot more options, a lot more in-depth stuff that you can do, so it takes a little bit more time. I will say, if we're gonna do this as like kind of like a standard third-person shooter, I think we need to adjust the character a little bit here and set up some of these controls a little bit different. So that's where I'm going to start off with. And so just looking here, how I want to do this. Look at this this camera here. Kind of looking at some of the settings. This is where I really want to perfect here. So, you know, with the third person controller, you know, camera controller, camera, whatever, the character himself is positioned a little bit differently than when you're actually shooting. Think of most shooters, think of like Dead Space. The character is either off to the left or off to the right, and sometimes you can toggle that depending on the combat situation. You know, so that's kind of what we're going to need to replicate. I'm going to move the camera side here to 1. I'm going to set the camera distance to 4. I think we'll do 0.7 here, 0.25, 0.3. I've never really quite figured out this vertical arm length, but I think it will have that set to 0. I think that might, let's take a look at this. All right, that's not ideal. A little bit too zoomed out. And we had problems with this in the other character as well. Just really fine-tuning exactly where this needs to go. Weird thing is the camera side, I do still want it to be 1. I think this looks a little better. That 0.09, I think. I don't even remember. Yeah, I think so. Then we just gotta make sure to set the camera side here to 1. I thought we did that. I wonder if it reverts. No, it doesn't. Okay. That looks good for now, I think. What else? Let's see here. I think I want to say we're gonna need another camera, for the zoom in process. I was just debating that, but I don't necessarily know if we need to do that. We might be able to just adjust or manipulate this camera here. But I don't know. I'm really debating this. If we do, we could just duplicate this and maybe change the name. Call it player aim camera. And so this, have to change the priority here. And then the field of view is going to change. I think we're going to need to go down to 30 here. Now the camera distance probably 2.5. We're going to have to basically zoomed in here. Look, and I think that'll work. Then we're gonna need to create a script now that kind of handles these concepts. And so I went ahead and, just to save some time, I went ahead and got this script. And if you guys don't know who Monkey is, I highly recommend him. He does a lot of tutorials on Unity. He's the one who created this script, and he actually has a tutorial on how to do this third-person controller. We may actually just take a look at the way that he did it at some point during this stream. He has really good tutorials, and he created a really cool third-person controller, shooting controller, and even did it with Cinti Studio assets. So his name's Monkey. Definitely recommend taking a look at him if you haven't already. And I definitely want to give him credit for creating this script here. So like I said, just to save time, I went ahead and downloaded that script already. And so we're just gonna pull it up here. I just gotta find it here. There we go. I'm gonna drag that script in here, and hopefully we don't have any errors. And it looks like we do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a folder here. We're going to call it the third person shooter. I'm going to drag that script in there. Now he's got some other scripts that came with, so that's probably the issue that we're having here. Is this script probably relies on some of the other scripts that he has. And so I'm going to take a look, see what he's got in here. And I'm just going to drag most of this stuff here. So this was most of the stuff that he had. It still doesn't clear up our errors here. I wonder if he adjusted the third-person controller. This third-person controller script. He might have adjusted it. We have it in our scene, but we haven't made any adjustments to it at this point. Now, I guess if we went and followed along in his script 100% to the T, we could avoid stuff like this. Maybe that's something that we do. Maybe it's not. It's just it's such a cool third-person controller shooter that I just, man, I really recommend it, and I'd love to put it into this project. I think following this tutorial might be the way to go. So we have these available for us. We don't necessarily have to type them all out from scratch, but maybe we follow his tutorial, and then once he does certain stuff to the script, we'll just go ahead and know exactly what he did, and we'll go ahead and copy things over. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully we can figure this out. So let me pull up his tutorial real quick. All right. All right. So you can take a look here. Here is the Code Monkey tutorial. Awesome third-person shooter controller. It's really good, guys. I definitely recommend this. He's also using the Unity starter assets, which we basically are using in our scene. We're not using this robot, and we didn't use this scene, but if you remember right, a couple episodes ago, we did bring this in, and just to make it really easy for us to move around and test out our scene. So if we take a look at this, I guess I could turn on some volume here.
So the first thing we want is just some basic logic to switch between them. So let's begin by making our script.
So right now he went ahead and he's already created the he has the player follow camera just like us. his player armature, that's his actual player here, the robot. And then he created a player aim camera, just very similar to what we have here. And I went ahead and verified some of the settings that he had it on. It's very close. I am worried about our, player aim camera. Some of the settings here, we may have to adjust still, because his settings and our player follow camera settings weren't the same. Not exactly sure why. I think it's because we're using this character here and not the actual robot from the scene. But that shouldn't be too much of an issue.
So in C# script,
So he's going to go ahead and create the third-person shooter controller here.
And here on the player armature, let's just
and then he's going to add it to the player armature here. So I'll go ahead and do the same. We'll still have this folder, and we'll call it third. Spell correctly. Third-person shooter. And we're going to create that script. We're not going to type this all by hand, because I already have the script in a different project. All right, we're going to go ahead and open this up in Visual Studio. And then, just like him, we're going to add that to the character here, the topless male. Why it seems weird to say all the time. But yeah, that's who we're going to be using it here towards. I'll go ahead and add that to him. You can see there it is down there. We're going to open up Visual Studio. And
now
then
here,
I'm going to kind of
begin by adding a reference to our.
We're going to kind of fast forward this a little bit.
And for that, let's make it of type Cinemachine Virtual Camera, just in case. So back in here, just drag the reference. All right. Now here, since we already set the aim.
So he is referencing the Cinemachine Virtual Camera here.
Aim to have a higher priority. So for the aim, let's use that one as well. If you don't know how, what you definitely should be using in your final project. So for the aim, let's use that one as well. If you don't know how to work with new input system package, go watch my video on it. It's a very capable system that makes input handling super simple. Now normally for these are meant to be hold actions, so let's set it up exactly the same way. This one is set using pass-through. So over here. Now normally for type of
right, it looks like he's going to be setting up some of
here we need to test for input. And for that,
the inputs here, the new input system, so we'll follow along with that as well. But let's open up that other script here. I'm just going to open this up in Notepad++, that way we can copy basically over what he's doing. And he pretty much, if you see, he pretty much has this public class, third-person shooter, and then he's got the serialized field here, this private Cinemachine virtual camera. So he has this here. Go ahead and copy that. And then I think, yep, he got rid of the start and update functions here. So if we go back into the main scene here, and we let this compile, we now are going to need to reference. We now need to reference the.
We just enable or disable this game object.
the aim camera. Sorry, I was looking back at his tutorial here. We're gonna need to look at or drag this in this reference here in this aim camera. So we'll do that as well. And then let's go back and take a look at what he's doing here. He did add just a little bit more to the script. Just basically that update function again. I'm not too worried about that right this exact second. We'll add that here soon. As you can see, he does pretty lengthy update. But now he's going into the input system here. And we haven't really done this much already in our scene. I'm gonna go back to that real quick. And so we haven't really worked very much with the input system. And that being said, it's hard to explain, but essentially, here it is right here. We are using this starter assets input system. So it already came with a bunch of the move, look, jump, sprint, that kind of stuff. This new system is really nice. I'm pretty sure that almost everybody nowadays is just using this. Hardly anybody's using the old system. Because we're using Playmaker, we're using a combination of both. So I can still use some of the older mechanics and they work, but we can also still use these, and it's a really nice way of doing it here. But I will say, so he's gonna add to these ones here, and this is also a really easy way to add like your controller types of stuff. So you can have the WASD working if you're going to be using a keyboard, but then you also have it set up where you can also use a stick on the gamepad. So it's cool because you can have multiple systems set up here, different controllers, different ways of doing everything, and it all just equals the same thing. So like this button on the gamepad and the spacebar will make the character jump here. Hopefully that makes sense. But we are going to add a new action here, and we'll call that aim, I think, what he's doing. This is definitely going to be a button. I don't know why this... I don't know where that one came from. There we go. Take a look at his tutorial here.
Here, let's do the same thing, pass through. Okay, and then for the bind,
back up just a
I
little
would
bit.
use it as button, but here I'm trying to stick as close to the standard set by the starter assets, so let's set it up exactly the same way as the sprint here. So both these are meant to be hold actions, so let's set it up exactly the same way. This one is set using pass through, so over here, let's do the same thing, pass through. Okay, and then for the bindings, let's add one. Let's listen to the right mouse button, and let's also add another one, and this one is going to...
I know he's moving really fast here.
Exactly the same way. This one is set using pass through, so over here, let's do the same thing, pass through. Okay, and then for the bindings, let's add one. Let's listen.
So this is another really cool feature with this input system here. So with aim, we can say this listen concept. Now I use this all the time. Majority of the time I don't actually go through and find it. I'll just go ahead and click listen, and so then it's waiting for any kind of input we do. So if I right click on the mouse, then it shows, hey, that you meant that to be the right mouse button, right? And so then it's just so much easier. If you're doing a gamepad or whatever controller, you can see all these other options. That listening feature is just amazing, and that's something that the older system did not have. He is going to go ahead and add another binding. Now this is just because of these gamepads already set up for this, and so he's essentially setting it up just in case somebody does want to use the gamepad at some point. And so I think with aiming, you're gonna go with the left trigger, and yeah, that's what he's gonna do as well. And then we just check the gamepad here. On this one, this needs to be checked, the keyboard and mouse, and then we just have to save it here. All right, let's take a look back at the tutorial.
It's using the player input method, and for the behavior itself, it's using send messages. Now, personally, when using,
Let's take a look at what he's looking at here. And ours is set up
this
the same
class,
way.
I would prefer to use Unity events, but again, I don't want to change this. I want to stick with the standard made by the start asset, so let's use the same method. And if we stick with the same pattern, then we listen to that event over here in this start assets input. So for the behavior, we want it really to be exactly like this.
All right, so it looks like he is making adjustments. This is what I was worried about earlier. He is adjusting the scripts for the starter assets.
Sprints.
Not something that I would normally do.
All that logic. So instead of a sprint, let's make an aim, and then.
But you know, I understand why he's doing it that way. I'm just gonna copy, do basically what he's doing here.
Just copy all that logic. So instead of.
You know, he's doing it really fast, which is understandable.
Sprint, let's make an aim, and then down here we've got the on events, and so let's. Let's copy. Let's make this on aim. Then we're going to make an aim input function.
And I'm just following along here, trying to keep up with what he's doing. I'm also trying to figure out exactly.
Then down here, let's copy the spring in.
Why he's doing it too. He's gonna go ahead and copy the sprint one, but then he's gonna change it just like he was doing earlier. Change this to the input, the aim input. Then aim. First, yeah, change that real fast. So aim equals new aim 8. And we do have to change this here.
Okay, so there it is. We made it work.
I think we're good now. See our differences here. On aim input is pressed. On aim, yep.
Worked exactly like the
good.
previous one. And now in our third-person shooter controller,
I'm gonna go ahead
first we
and
need a
save
reference
this
to
one. Save this script, but we do have to go back to our third-person controller now.
the start inputs. So a private start assets.
And so basically we're going to need this concept here now. We're going to need to be able to pull in that starter assets input script.
Inputs. So this one is inside a namespace. Alright, we have the inputs, and then on our update we're simply going to go into that one and test for the aim boolean. So if this one is true, we want to enable the aim virtual camera. So let's go into this one, .gameObject, and we're going to call setActive. And if it's true, we're going to set it to true, and if not, we're going to set it back into false. Okay, so just with this, it should already be working, so let's test.
Alright, so I'm going to pause it there, and we'll go back into our main scene here. And then I'm just going to copy and paste from Notepad++ those changes that he made here. So first he did this, the void awake here. But he doesn't have these other concepts quite yet, so I'll go ahead and delete those. And then he starts working on the void update as well. Kind of a weird way of doing this here, but I think we'll eventually it'll all make sense, and eventually we'll get through this. You can see I'm just working through this Notepad++ script here. And in the void update, he basically has this if statement, and but he's got quite a bit more in the actual script here that we don't need quite yet. So I'm just kind of narrowing it down exactly what he's got here. And once again, I apologize that this is a kind of a clunky day here. If we can manage to get through it, we'll have a pretty good system once this is done. I'm just going to copy the whole thing right now, and then delete what we're not using. So we're not using any of this yet. We're not using any of these. And none of that. And none of that. This and the last bracket down there. Now we look there. So if we look back at the tutorial here, he's about to
here I am
test this out.
Normal. Now I right click, and there you go, it zooms in, and I'll let go, and yep, it zooms out.
And that's the concept that we're going to want to perfect here. And then I'm actually worried that it's not gonna work. Not as good as him, just because I feel like our cameras here need just a little bit different settings than what he's using. But we'll take a look at this and see. So if we press play here and we walk around, if I go ahead and press the right mouse button, you notice it zooms in. If I let go of the right mouse button and zoom. So actually that works really well. So right now we zoomed in. So this would be our shooting, like aiming mechanism here. And then when we let go, now our gun is going to be put down. Yeah, that actually works really well. We didn't have to make any adjustments to the other character or other camera. Good. Hey, Andres here. Sorry, I didn't notice that. But thanks for coming. Yeah, the door. Yep, I was trying to give you credit yesterday, but yesterday was so chaotic. But yeah, the door. I was able to put the doors in. They worked really well. Everything's baked now. The nav mesh. He's walking around. He's not clipping through. So definitely. Thank you for that. You did an excellent job. And it worked out great. So I definitely appreciate it. And then today we're working on a third-person controller. But today's a little bit of a clunky kind of day because we are following a tutorial from Code Monkey. I don't know if you ever watch any of his stuff, but he's a really good resource when it comes to making these 3D style shooter games. And so we're kind of just following along, doing what he's doing. And like I said, it's a little clunky. A little weird. It's not my typical streaming day, but I think we'll make it through, hopefully. You can see right now, so what we did is we created it where if I press the right mouse button, the camera zooms in, and so this is where we would be shooting at, and if I let go of the right mouse button, it zooms back out here. Yeah, and this is just one of those things where he created such an awesome product that I really would like to go with it. And it is a complex concept, and if you do it like on your own, I mean, you could spend a lot of time, and like I've been saying all along, there's really no point in recreating the wheel. This is available to everybody. It's out there, so I'm just saying, hey, you guys might as well just use it. So if we look at the back of the tutorial again here, you can see I have it pulled up right here. The Code Monkey awesome third-person controller shooter here.
Okay, now it's obviously way too slow, so let's fix it.
He just tested it.
Sin Machine Brain. So on the main camera, we've got the Sin Machine Brain.
But he thinks it's a little bit slow of a zoom, and I was thinking the same exact thing. And so now we're gonna fix that.
And over here we've got the default transitions.
I think he said it was on the actual main camera, and it'd be in this, yep, Sin Machine Brain here.
Right now the sensitivity is the same in both. So here it is, and so let's fix that.
Let's take a look.
It should already be working, so let's test. We've got this Sin Machine Brain, and over here we've got the default transitions. So it's taking 2 seconds. Let's make it quite a bit snappier, so maybe 0.1.
It changes this default blend, this ease out here, to 0.1, and instead of the 2. So if we take a look at what that looks like here, just like him, you can see right clicking now is very fast. I think that's also way better. I think 0.1 is good. So we'll go with that.
Let's see. So here it is, and I hold. Yep, there you go. Now it's nice and snappy. Okay, great. So the next thing that we need is aim sensitivity. Right now the sensitivity is the same in both modes, which works alright over here in normal mode, but if I zoom in then it's way too intense. It's very difficult to aim correctly. So let's set up the logic to have two different sensitivities. Now in the video where I made an overview of the starter assets, in there I already covered how you can add sensitivity to the third-person controller, which doesn't have that field by default. So let's modify the third-person controller script. Over here, let's just add another.
And this is where we were having some problems earlier. Because he's altering the starter assets scripts here. And so you can't just take some of the scripts that he made and bring it into your scene, and they're not going to work. And that's ultimately why we needed to watch the tutorial. Oh, and to answer your question, Andre, so I guess you missed that part, and I forgot to mention it as well. So in the Dream Machine, this is a Dream Machine level 9. In the Dream Machine, there's going to be this Battle Royale scene, and that's where the player is really going to learn how to use a weapon, so to speak. So in this particular scene here, this is going to be a very high energy, crazy, chaotic, a lot of shooting concepts. So this might be the very first scene that the player's introduced with that kind of stuff. So you'll see if you ever watch that tutorial, or you'll see where we get to eventually. This is just a really nice third-person shooting controller that we plan on using. And then once we create this, we'll be able to add it to the apocalyptic city scene as well, because eventually the character is going to leave the bunker and he's going to be able to need shooting mechanics as well. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. Hopefully that answers your question. But if we go back into Visual Studio here, he's now messing with the third-person controller scripts, and I don't actually have that pulled up yet, so let's go ahead and find that. Should be on our main character, third-person controller. There we go. And so I'm just gonna quickly try to follow along with what he's doing here. And like I said earlier, I would love to, we could just copy and paste a lot of his stuff, but since we're following along with his tutorial, what I'll do is just, we'll do it just a little bit at a time. Even though I have all his scripts, and I'm not necessarily going to be the best person to explain exactly what he did. I think it'd be better if you just watch his stuff. He does a really, really good job. But in order to truly follow along and not have all these errors, I think it's better to do it this way.
Let's make a public float, call it sensitivity.
So yep, he makes that public float.
And then down here,
and then down in the,
we just find the camera rotation function.
Down here, camera rotation function.
And on this one,
we're
applying the input, so we just multiply it by the.
And then right here, we're just multiplying it by the sensitivity now.
Sensitivity?
And we'll do that for both of these.
And just with that, it's already working. Now we just need to build upon this, and we're going to make a function to expose the sensitivity. So let's go down here, make it.
Now it looks like now we got to create a function for that sensitivity.
Public void. Let's call it set.
And there's those on footstep on land function I was talking about in a previous episode. And I'm just wondering if maybe I could pull this up from our other project. and just copy and paste to save time. It actually looks like a pretty simple script here. Or sorry, a simple function. Well, let's take a look at what he's doing here.
Set sensitivity. Okay, so we got a function to change it. And now let's go into the shooter controller. And over here, let's add fields for both of them. So make it a serialized field, make it private. It's going to be a float for the normal sensitivity, another one for the aim sensitivity. And then we set them the same way that we set the zoom. So we need to get a component of that one. Alright, so we get the component.
Alright, and then I'll just make those changes real quick on what he's doing. Yeah, Andre, talking about splitting the sensitivity. I think for now, what I'm going to do is pretty much just copy exactly what he's doing. But yeah, that is something that we'll have to consider and probably adjust afterwards. But yeah, thank you for that. Alright, so what we're just going to do is make those changes in the third person controller. So we added the new serialized field for the third person controller. Let me just find that. Oh, sorry for the serialized fields. Man, I can't talk today. The serialized fields for these normal and aim sensitivities, and then he added the third person controller here. And then he updated the wake function. Go ahead and do that. And then now the update itself. Thought it would be easier to, just copy and paste like this, but man, this is still a little clunky. That's the word of the day today. I really just want to
object, and then
it's really hard for me to just not copy and paste everything he's got, and not just follow along directly.
we simply go into that script we call set sensitivity, and on this one we set it to the aim, and on this one to normal. Alright, so let's set these fields in the editor. So let's say for normal, keep it at 1, and for aim, let's put it at half. Okay.
Alright, let's do that real fast. After this compiles, hopefully I did everything right. Yeah, thanks, Andre. This isn't my normal cup of tea here, but we'll get through it today. Hopefully at the end of this day, we'll have a pretty nice third-person shooter controller. Hopefully, and then we can move along tomorrow. And so
Okay.
he did.
So here I am.
Missed that last one. It was what was it, 0.5?
Go.
Come on.
Hello and
Okay. Lost my place. The tutorial and everything. Yep. I think it was 0.5.
So let's go into UI, make a new canvas. Normal mode, but if I zoom in, then it's way too intense. It's very difficult to aim correctly. So let's set up the logic to have two different sensitivities. Now in the video where I'm for the normal sensitivity, and then we simply go into that script we call
I found
set sensitivity.
my place
And on this
again.
one we set it to the aim, and on this one to normal.
That one.
Alright, so let's set these fields in the editor. So let's say
That
for
one was a
normal,
little
keep it at
difficult.
1, and for aim, let's put it at half, okay?
But if we test this out now, we go back to our scene, and he's gonna do the same thing here. I think it's a little bit crazy still. I don't know. It's pretty tight as far as the sensitivity goes. But if we watch what he's doing here.
So here I am with this sensitivity, and as I zoom in, yep, now it's much smaller, allowing me to be quite a bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Alright, great. Now the one thing missing here is a simple crosshair, so we know where we're actually aiming, so let's add one. Now this is very simple, we just need first of all a canvas, so let's go into UI, make a new canvas. Then for the canvas, set it up like I normally do, so leave it on screen space overlay, over here scale with screen size, go with 1280 by 720 and match with the height, so that's just the standard that I like to follow.
And I'm just setting it up the way he's got it set up. Yeah, I think the crosshair is huge, but it's really gonna be nice once we get that gun in there and get some maybe even some sounds and some shooting animations. I think it'll be pretty nice.
And now inside, let's make an image, so a new UI image. This overlay over here, scale with screen size, go with 1280 by 720 and match with the height, so that's just the standard that I like to follow. And now inside, let's make an image, so a new UI image. Just call it the crosshair, and over here I've got a simple sprite of
And here, I know it's really fast, but basically creating an image here, calling it a crosshair, spell it correctly. If we look at our canvas, zoom out here, we are centered. We do have this crosshair UI that he has already, or that he has in his scene. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out. Weird thing is he's using the PSD here. We'll set it to sprite here, and then we'll go ahead and drag that in, and then we'll take a look and see what he does next here.
there. So it's just something very basic that I drew in 30 seconds. So just sign the image and let's make it quite a bit smaller. So maybe 50, maybe 30, something like that. And that's pretty much it. Nothing else we need to change, just make sure it's pivoted on the center and it's on 0, 0. And yep, there it is. Now we have our character controller and we can see exactly where we're aiming. Alright, great.
Alright, let's take a look. There you got it. Looks pretty good. Move right along.
So with that done, now it's time to handle the shooting. Now for this, there's actually two ways you can do it. One approach is you can make the weapon shoot actual projectiles, or you can make it a hit scan weapon. So for that one, there's really no right or wrong answer, it really depends on the type of game that you're going for. Now I actually made a video quite a while ago on the various ways to handle projectiles. In that video I covered the methods in 2D, but the logic we're going to use here is quite similar, so do go watch that video after this one to see how it works in 2D. Now the most complex thing to do has to do with where you want the ball to go. Now the reason is because this is a third-person shooter, so that means the camera is slightly off to the side and not right on top of the player. So that means that if you have the player itself just shoot forward, it's going to shoot forward and not actually shoot where the crosshair is. So even if you go with a projectile approach, it still helps to do a quick raycast just to see exactly where the projectile should go. Okay, so let's do that. Now here in our script, the way we're going to do that is with an actual raycast. Now a while ago I covered how to get the mouse wheel position in 3D and 2D. Now that method is making a raycast on the mouse position and seeing where it lands, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. So let's actually copy the code from that video. It's on the mouse 3D class that I've got on this project. So here it is, that's the code that we made in that video. And here we've got the update, making a ray, and yep. Okay, so like this it would work, however here we're using the old legacy input manager. So we could change this to use the new input system. We could do it using Unity engine.input system. And then over here we could do, for example, mouse.current, grab the position and read the value. Now we could do this. However, with this the game would break if there was no mouse connected. So it would break, for example, if you were playing on a console. Now since we want this to work with a mouse but also just a gamepad, let's go with another approach. All we really need is the position on the center of the screen, since it never actually changes. So for that we can do some very basic math to get that point.
I think I'm gonna pause here, take a look at where he's at, see if we can add anything real quick. So if we look, oh nice, Andre, I didn't even know that the SVG files too. That is pretty cool. I didn't even know that. All right, so if we look at this, he did make some changes in the void update, so I'll go ahead and grab those. Basically he's doing this raycast here. And it should be outside the if statement. But he does have a if statement pertaining to the raycast here. And let's continue.
So yep, it's that simple. We just make a screen center point, we grab the screen width divided by 2, the height divided by 2. Alright, so here we have right the center, and then we do a screen point array, so the same thing as usual. Then we've got the collider mask. So first of all, let's rename this to the aim collider mask, and let's define it up here. So as usual, serialized field, make it of type layer.
I'll go ahead and do that as well. Grab that serialized field. You can see here, got it right here.
Layer mask. I cover layers and bit masks in another video if you're curious to how it actually works. So this is an aim collider mask. Okay, so our logic should be working, except over here we do not want to modify the transform position, but let's verify that it is correct. So let's make a debug transform. So up here, add another field, just a private transform, call it just the debug
And we'll do the same with that. That one.
transform. Then down here we set that one on the position. Just make sure that this point is actually correct. Okay, so back in.
Alright. I'll save the script here. We'll go ahead and compile it. He's about to test this out.
In the editor, here we got our script. First of all, we need the aim collider and layer mask. Now over here, all the walls, all the environment, all of this is on the default layer. So let's collide with the default layer, okay?
Alright. So on our actual character itself, we are going to want to aim with, or right here with the collider layer, we'll set that to default.
Then for debug transform, let's create just a 3D sphere, put it pretty small, and just add a nice material just for fun.
And so now he's adding just a 3D sphere here, and that's where it's kind of almost going to act like a red dot or a green dot. Here, get out of 2D mode here, go down, and
okay,
the scale 2.1. This is basically going to show up inside the crosshair, and let's see if I can find that actual particle. Got particle green material here that he's using. And it looks like the shader, I've got it, but the shader that he used for this looks like it's outdated. So we're not gonna be able to get that. We'll assign our own material for that eventually. For now, let's just create a new material, and we'll make it just that kind of lime greenish color here. Something like this. That'll work. And so then we'll apply that to the sphere here.
So this sphere is going to be our debug transform. So just over here, let's move it. Okay.
And then we assign that sphere to our debug transform.
So let's test, and we should be able to see the sphere exactly always on the crosshair position. Let's see. And yep, it works.
And so now, if we test it, you can see the sphere shows up in the crosshair. Of course, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger when we stay there. We'll adjust that here in a couple seconds. But it is working.
Works, so wherever I look, I can see the sphere.
You can see
is
his
exactly
sphere is
on
pretty
there.
nice
So with
glowing
this, we
effect.
now know the world position of where we're actually aiming. Alright, so far so good. However, here we actually have the same issue that we saw with the house building system in the third-person video. And the other issue is the sphere is approaching, so that has to do with the collider. So just over here, let's just remove the collider.
That's a pretty easy fix. Just move the collider on the actual sphere.
And okay, it no longer has that issue. Now, as I was saying, we do have the same issue that we had with the house building system in third.
This is actually a really cool tutorial. I definitely recommend watching it. It's the house building like Rust Valheim.
Person.
I haven't actually made a game like this, but I've always wanted to, and I really enjoy playing them.
Because the sky does not have a collider. So that's the exact same thing here. If I'm looking at the ground floor and so on, everything works. There's a sphere, okay. But if I look towards, there's no collider, so if I look up at the sky, and nope, the whole thing breaks. So there's no sphere anywhere because over there's no collider. So the simple solution is just like it did on the house building system, which is to make sure there's always a collider. Let's add some basic invisible walls all around the world so there's always something to collide with. That's very basic. Let's just create a new cube. Let's just move it to the side.
And I'm not sure if we want to do this at this point. To me, this is a workaround that isn't too necessarily important.
Alright, so I've added colliders all around, but obviously the player's not meant to be outside in here, so very simple, let's just remove the mesh render. So there you go, now we've got the colliders, but they have no visual. And now if we test and we aim around, yep, everything works perfect. Alright, great, so far so good.
I don't know. We'll go ahead and do that just to see, what that looks like. Yeah, I'm not sure, Andre, about using the clamp to the value. That's an excellent question. Some of the stuff that he's doing is actually a little confusing to me. There's a couple things that I'm just like, I don't know why he's doing it to that extent. But I do know the finished product is pretty nice, and so I'm kind of just trusting his process. Like I said, he does make a lot of really good stuff. So I'm just gonna, again, trust his process, and hopefully he leads us to a really good product here. This is really difficult for me to do. Just for some reason, adding these invisible, cubes throughout the scene here, just so that we can get that green, that debug transform. It's just kind of a weird concept to me. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know why he's doing it this way. And with scenes like this, man, I just, we can just make this ginormous. This scene's gonna change, so if I don't like this concept, we'll get rid of it. But just to follow along with the tutorial, we're gonna do this. We can just turn off the mesh renderer here. Hopefully this wasn't too thick. And actually, let's raise it up a little bit. Fine. For those of you guys who didn't know, if you shift click space, it gets rid of all of the extra stuff. And then let's create a couple more cubes. Oh, goes against a lot of the stuff. I mean, if you have a small scene, you have, if you need boundaries for the player to never go past, this point in the game, regardless of what kind of game you have. Yeah, it's just a weird approach too. That's what I'm like. It's just eating me up inside right now. But let's just say hypothetically, our character here, could get on a boat and navigate this entire level here. Then yeah, we would probably want something like this, just to prevent him from continuing. But to me, it just seems like a weird fix for just getting, the green dot to show up. And I'm debating, like, Trying to think like how I would do it normally. But if we push play now, let's see. Even if we look, oh, forgot you. We can't jump yet. But if we look even at the sky, oh, are we? We're not seeing. I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing the dots still. You do anything
Well,
extra?
others, but they have no visual. And now,
maybe our cubes are just too far away. His scene is so much smaller than ours, so I feel like that might be the issue here. Try it again. I feel like sometimes I see it and sometimes I don't. But this for any means, it's not a game changer. It's not a deal breaker for me that we just all of a sudden don't have this green dot when we aim at the sky. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think that's it's going to be very frustrating to the player that your green dot disappears? Did we have negative? Yeah, we did have negative scale on these cubes. That could be part of the issue. I didn't even notice that. I'm gonna go ahead and delete those. Can't even get it to show up on this one here, so come on. Not the canvas. Take a look. And yeah, there is actually a green dot there. It's just, since it's so far away, it's just very faint. So I'm gonna leave this one. But for now, I'm gonna move on. It's such a weird concept. Just can't get my mind wrapped around it here. All right. I mean, I love Code Monkey. He's awesome. So we gotta trust the madness, I guess. All right, let's continue.
if we test and we aim around, yep, everything works perfect. Alright, great, so far so good. Now, one more small thing here. Usually in third-person shooters, the character rotates as you aim. So as you look around, right now the character is still facing forward, but it should be aiming towards where I'm pointing. So let's add that. Over here we're testing for the aim, changing sensitivity and so on. So in here, let's just calculate the vector from the player to the target position.
We'll go ahead and add that.
Okay, so here, first of all, I add the mouse compilation up on the top so we can use it down here.
Alright, and I'm gonna go ahead and update that as well. Take a look. Making sure that what I got versus what he's got's the same. a little bit difficult doing it this way. Oh. But in general, you can see I got everything above there, and then now I'm looking in here. So we got he added these vector 3s and this world aim target. So that's what I'm working on right now. So I'll go ahead and copy those. And then the else is still the same. Looks like I am caught up now.
So just to find a vector 3 for the mouse wheel position, then we do the raycast, the usual thing. We position the debug transform, even though we can remove this later, and then we just have the mouse wheel position. Alright. So then we just grab that one, and first of all we make it the Y match the exact same one as the transform position Y, because right now we just want about left to right rotation, we don't care about up down. So with that, then we have the aim direction towards the world aim target. So with this, now we can rotate the player, and we can do that with transform.forward. So this is the player's forward vector, which you can read, but you can also write in order to rotate. So if you're like me and would prefer dealing with vector 3s instead of quaternions, then this is a great way to rotate things. And to make it smooth, let's do it using a vector3.lerp. Alright, so like this, we should be able to see the player rotate to face the world aim target, and it should rotate nice and smooth. Okay, let's test. So here I am, the character is looking forward, and
Alright, I already made that change, and then we're just compiling now, so we'll take a look and see what this looks like. Thanks, Andre. It was worth a try, right? I think at some point I'll take a look at that and come up with a different solution, because it definitely is kind of a weird concept here. And so if we play test this, we go here. Now, when I right click, the player is looking at where he's aiming. So that's exactly what we want. You can see normally I can move the mouse all the way around, but when we're zoomed in, we can't do that. So it's definitely ideal here. You can see even this wall here. I mean, I can't tell, but it doesn't seem, the dot either is really small and I can't tell, or there is no dot on this wall here. We definitely have some craziness. All right, moving along.
I can look around and see the character, alright. But if I zoom in, now I'm aiming, and yep, there you go, now the character does aim towards where I'm actually aiming. And the aim itself is also nice and smooth, so instead of being instant, there's a nice smoothness to it. Alright, great. So everything seems to be working. However, we actually do have an issue if we start to move. So if we're moving like this, yep, still normal, I can move and look around. But now if I move and aim at the same time, and yep, now look at that, now the character is not looking there, now the whole thing is messed up. So the issue here is that the base character controller is trying to rotate based on the move direction, but then we're also trying to rotate as we're actually on the aim mode. So we need to make sure to do just one or the other. For that, let's make a function to disable the rotation on the base script. So over here on the third person controller, let's add a simple boolean, so private bool, let's call this rotate on move.
And I'm just pulling up that third person controller, and I'll take a look, see what he's doing here.
And let's default it to true, and then we can go down.
Our
third-person controller. Let's add a simple boolean, so private bool. Let's call this rotate on move, and let's default it to true.
All right.
True.
Caught up
And
there.
then we can go down here into the actual move function. So it's over here that we're moving the things and so on. All right, and we're handling the target rotation. So over here.
Trying to find where he's at. This is a pretty crazy script, so there's definitely a lot going on here. All right.
This is how it's facing the input direction. So we're only going to run this if that boolean is set to true. Okay, so now we just need to expose this boolean. So down here, do the same thing. Okay, so we've got
Yeah, I'm just gonna copy this last function here.
this function exposed, and now on the character controller, now we can do that. So in here, we go into that one. So while aiming, we set it to false, so that one does not rotate. And when we stop aiming, we set it back to true. Okay, let's see. Alright. Right, so here I am. I can walk around. The character rotates as it should. Alright.
Compiling.
And now if I zoom, and yep, there you go. Now the character no longer rotates, so now it actually always faces the nice same direction. Alright, great. So let's continue. Now the sphere is always on top of the crosshair, which means that we know the world position of where we're actually aiming.
Alright, I'm gonna take a look at ours, make sure we're on the same page as him. Alright, I didn't know that either, Andre. Man, kick. That's crazy. I guess you could always send it in Discord too. Alright, where was I? Okay. Yeah, so we test out the issue we were having. So if we right click and zoomed in, he faces everywhere. But if we were moving and we were trying to look around while moving, there was an error, but now it's good to go. So yeah, looks like we're fine. We'll continue. We'll continue right along, guys. I know this is clunky.
So with this, like I said, you have two
there.
options. One is to make the bullet an actual projectile. So you spawn the bullet on top of the weapon position and you rotate it to face the crosshair worm position and then just move it forward and test for physics collisions as it moves.
We're getting to the fun stuff though.
And the other approach, the head scan weapon, is to do the raycast and then we check the object that we hit, we test if we hit something we can damage, and we just deal damage directly. So let's quickly try out both methods. So over here I've got a bullet prefab that I prepared previously. So there's a parent game object with a rigid body and a collider set to trigger. Then over here on interpolate, set to interpolate so it actually moves smoothly, and collision detection is set as dynamic since this one will be moving quite fast. Then inside we really just have a visual, nothing else. Okay, so let's make a script to handle the bullet projectile. So let's make a new C# script for the bullet projectile. And over here, first thing is let's get that rigid body, so private rigid body.
I have the script already, so we'll let him get to the end here.
Okay, so on the wait we get it, and then let's
I think we could skip forward a little bit.
Collisions. Since let's define another action.
Well, we went a little bit too far.
Okay, now.
Alright, so now we'll take this bullet projectile script and we'll drag it into our scene here. So if I pull it up, there it is. Alright, it's compiling. Hopefully, yep, we do get an error. We need bull target. This is why this is why it's hard to just drag in people's scripts, because, you know, there's so many things that are just dependent on each other. Hey, Luchadork's here. Hey, good to see you here, man. You missed a lot of good tutorial following. But we're hoping to get a pretty good third-person shooter here by the end of the day here. It's been clunky. That's the word of the day, clunky.
Now we need to define a shoot. And
I'm also going to go ahead and drag in his. He's got this. The actual bullet. I'll find that as well while we're watching this.
Input. So on the input actions, let's define another action. Call it shoot. And for this one, this is meant to work like a button. So let's copy exactly the same way as the jump action. So make it a button. Then for the bindings, let's add one first of all for the left button on the mouse. Okay. And add another binding. And this one will be for the controller. So let's go with gamepad. In this case for shooting, let's go with the right trigger.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and set that up real quick. You can see here we have the new input system, and we'll go ahead and create a new binding here, a new action. Call that shoot. And then now this first binding here, this is would be the right mouse button. Which that's the only one that you can't do. That's why you didn't see him do it. You can't do this through listening, and it's just because it's the right mouse button. I mean, that's the most used here. I'm gonna go ahead and select keyboard mouse. Go ahead and add another binding, and then on this one will be a gamepad, and we'll go. Let's see, back up. Gamepad, and then most of the time it's going to be right trigger, so that's usually the way it is set up here. All right, thanks for the hair. Thanks, got my hair cut. Yep. It was getting a little hot here, and thank you. Alright, got those set up. I don't think he's going to add anything
Alright, so we have our action.
Crazy here.
Save. And now to listen to the action, we need to add over here to the start assets
But we do
inputs.
need to go in
again,
and
let's
change
copy
the
exact
starter
same
aspect
pattern
input
as
and
over
do the
here
same
on
thing
jump.
we did for
So
the
it's
aim.
gonna be the shoot.
Let's pull that up. I'll basically be following along with him.
So let's copy the on jump. So you've got the on shoot, then the shoot input. So again, let's copy.
A lot of this is just copying and pasting. Pretty simple stuff. He just does it really, really fast.
All right, so
I did forget that last part here. We want to do a new shoot state, not a new jump state.
we've got our shoot boolean that we can test. So back in the shooter script, over here on our update, let's test for that one. So if we're going to go into the start assets input, test for shoot. If it is true, then we want to shoot our bullet. So in order to spawn the prefab, let's add another one up here. So for the bullet projectile prefab,
I'm gonna catch up here. I don't have that serialized field yet. And now I'm just compiling.
so we're going to have that reference, and then down here we're going to call instantiate. So now we need to know where we're going to instantiate it. So in order to define that position in the editor, let's add another transform as well. Let's call the spawn bullet position. So let's add both of these in the editor. Just comment out this line so it can compile. Now here on the player script, let's first add the prefab, so drag down, okay. And then
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and do that portion now. Yeah, Andre, give me a second and I'll send that to you as well. I'm still looking for that projectile, that bullet projectile concept here. He's got, the issue is I have it, but he's got some scripts associated with it. And so I just want the model itself. I don't need all of the other craziness. But I don't see the model. I only see the prefab. So take a look. You can see here. Missing whatever script this is. And it's also missing these materials here. I'm not sure if they're gonna work because of the shader. Oh, you know what? They work good here. It's just in my other project they're not working. There's shader issues. Which means that that green one might work. That really nice green. All right. So now if we go back into the scene here, we do have to set up our
then let's make
bullet
a
projectile.
game object. So let's make it inside the player armature. So just an empty game object. So this is the position. just comment out this line so it can compile. Now here on the player script, let's first add the prefab, so drag down, okay. And then let's make a game object, so let's make it inside the player armature. So just name.
I'm just gonna follow along here. We're gonna create an empty game object.
The game object, so this is the position where we're actually going to fire our bullet from. So for now, let's put it roughly there, roughly around chest height, okay? The only thing is just make sure that it's not actually inside the player collider, so make sure that it's a bit off so the bullet doesn't spawn and destroy immediately. So let's call this the spawn bullet position. And on the script, attach that one, okay. So then here we can now use that.
Alright. And what I'm going to do is I'll send you, Andre, I'll send the script here. Hopefully this, I was worried about that. The function's too long. Here, let me cut it up a little bit. That's what he's got. Let me know if that works. All right, where were we here?
We're going to instantiate the prefab, instantiate on the spawn bullet position. And then we need the rotation. So for this one, again, we're going to make it face towards the mouse worm position. So let's get it here. Okay, so we calculate the M direction, we grab the mouse worm position, and we calculate direction based on the spawn bullet position. Alright, so we've got that direction, then we need to convert it into a quaternion, so we use liquid rotation and convert it, okay. And then, since this is meant to be a pistol, we're going to set the shoot to false so it doesn't shoot constantly. So as you click, it shoots. Okay, let's test, and we should be able to instantiate the prefab, and it should move forward, and it should be destroyed when it hits a wall. Let's see. Alright, here we are, and as I aim and I shoot, and yep, there you go, it does indeed spawn the prefab, and it goes in there, and then it vanishes.
Alright, we'll take a look at this. I don't think ours is going to work like that. One, because we're missing the script associated with the bullet here. I have a feeling we're going to need to reassign that. But if I go into here, yep, right clicking doesn't do anything. So that is indeed the situation. So we will have to backtrack a little bit on the tutorial. Did I send you the wrong one, Andre? I tried to do it really fast and I wasn't paying attention, so I apologize if I sent it to you wrong. I might be able to just send you the actual script instead of cutting out the code of just the update. Just send you the entire script. Would that work for you? Let's see. I did forget to adjust our spawn position of the bullet. That could be part of the issue as well. And so we'll go ahead and do about center mass, a little bit outside here. Go ahead and press play just to make sure. Nope, still not working. And then, so then I'm gonna back up and try to find where he set up that bullet.
So let's make a script to handle the bullet projectile. So let's make a new C# script for the bullet projectile. And over here, first thing is let's add one first of all for the collider trigger. We test for on trigger enter, and then over here let's just this. And let's
I think it's
make
the
it on
bullet
start.
projectile script that gets applied to it.
And over here, first collision detection is set as dynamic since this one will be moved.
But looking at this here, continuous, yep. To try to add that script here, bullet projectile. And he's got the VF green and red. Not sure what that is.
Moving quite fast. Then inside we really just have a visual, nothing else.
Actually, I'm gonna open this prefab.
Okay, so let's make a script to handle the bullet projectile. So let's make a new C# script for the bullet projectile. And over here, first thing is let's get that based on this for the soon as. And then over here, let's define another action. Then for the body, let's go with our action. So this will be the.
I don't actually see him.
That's for project. We can compile. Now here on the player script, let's first add the prefab. So drag down. Okay.
Did I forget to assign the position of the spawn? I think I did. Yep. I think that might be the issue. Take a look. Nope, still not getting anything here.
And then let's make a game object. So let's make it inside the player armature. So height, okay. The only thing is just make sure that it's not actually inside the player collider, so make sure that it's a bit off so the bullet doesn't spawn and destroy immediately. So let's call this the spawn bullet position. And on the script, attach that one, okay. So then here we can now use that. We are going to instantiate the prefab, instantiate on the spawn bullet position. And then we need the rotation. So for this one, again, we're going to make it face towards the mouse wheel position. So let's get it here. Okay, so we calculate the M direction, we grab the mouse wheel position, and we calculate direction based on the spawn bullet position. Alright, so we've got that direction, then we need to convert it into a quaternion, so we use like rotation and convert it, okay. And then, since this is meant to be a pistol, we're going to set the shoot to false so it doesn't shoot constantly. So as you click, it shoots. Okay, let's test, and we should be able to instantiate the prefab, and it should move forward, and it should be destroyed when it hits a wall. Let's see. Alright, here we are, and as I aim and I shoot, and yep, there you go, it does indeed spawn the prefab, and it goes in there, and then it vanishes. So if I shoot into the ground, yep, there you go. So yep, it is spawning correctly, and it is going exactly towards where I aim. So again, remember the problem that we're trying to avoid, which is to make sure that the player doesn't shoot just forward, but rather it actually hits where it's actually aiming, and yep, it is working. So aim at the corner, and yep, it hits the corner. Alright, so far so good. Now let's identify the collisions. Over here I've got a simple visual for a target. This is from the Polygon Battle Royale asset pack. There's a link if you want to get it. So we're going to identify it using a tag component.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're doing, what we're missing here. Definitely tough. You know, this is the part of you know, tutorials that can be frustrating. So he's got this bullet, and it when I grabbed it from his original project, it did come with a script associated with it, but I don't know exactly which one it was. But we take a look. try to figure this out. We do have the spawn position here. We did drag in the actual bullet projectile here and then the actual bullet spawn. So that's exactly like he did in the tutorial. What he didn't say, and I'm still trying to find it, is where he creates the bullet. He basically just says, hey, I created this, take a look. And so you can see here's our bullet prefab that he created. All he's got is some colliders and a rigid body on it. And I added this bullet projectile script on there because I couldn't figure out exactly what script it was originally, what it originally had. The project that he had that I downloaded, it just says that it's missing a script, so I honestly don't know. So I'm just kind of, at this point, I'm trying to scrub the tutorial and find anywhere that is in the tutorial that we can figure out what we're missing here. So just bear with me. I know this is clunky. That's the word of the day, and we're just gonna, hopefully we can figure it out. We got about 30 minutes left, and only about maybe 15 minutes of the tutorial left. Hopefully we can get through this, figure it out, and continue. So if we go back, I want to say, let's see, hard to say where this looks like the bullet part.
So let's quickly try out both methods. So over here I've got a bullet prefab that I prepared.
He says he's got a bullet prefab that he prepared
just
here.
Them directly. So let's quickly try out both methods. So over here I've got a
you can tell it's, so we got the transform, the rigid body, box collider, all of that.
The bullet prefab.
It is indeed the, I am using that same one, the PF bullet projectile.
Prefab that I prepared previously.
I don't see an actual script on there.
So there's a parent game object with a rigid body and a collider.
I'm gonna go ahead and just remove that for now. Hopefully that wasn't the reason.
Then over here on interpolate, it's set to interpolate so it actually moves smoothly, and collision detection is set as dynamic.
We got all that.
Moving quite fast. Then inside we really just have a visual, nothing else. Okay, so let's make a script to handle the bullet project.
And I think I know what I did here. I was saying right mouse button earlier, but what we really meant was the left mouse button. So let's fix that. It's the right trigger in a joystick that fires, but it's the left button on a mouse that fires. Take a look at that again. Still not getting any spawning. Oh, you know what? I didn't save the asset. Let's take a look now. Alright, we'll take a look at this. Alright, so you can see when I'm in the scene, I can go ahead and click left, and you can see now there is like a bullet in the air here, but it's not moving. Not sure why that is.
Projectile. So let's make a new C# script.
If we
for
take
the
a
bullet
look at our projectile,
Now over here, first thing is
projectile
let's get that
script.
rigid body, so private.
we take a look at that real quick. Pretty sure I just copied and pasted the entire thing here.
Rigid body. Okay, so on the wake we get it, and then let's make it on start. On start, we're going to set the bullet rigid body. We're going to modify the velocity, and it's going to be based on this transform.forward vector. So we do that, and then maybe a certain speed. Alright, so just like this, it will move forward as soon as it spawns. Now, testing for collisions. Since we made the collider trigger, we test for on trigger enter, and then over here, let's just destroy this game object. Okay, now we need to define a shoot input. So on the input actions, let's define another action, call it shoot.
And we did all of that.
And for this one, this is meant to work like a button, so let's copy exactly the same way as the jump action. So make it a button, then for the bindings, let's add one, first of all, for the left button on the mouse, okay? And add another binding, and this one will be for the controller. So let's go with gamepad. In this case for shooting, let's go with the right trigger. Okay, then set this one as a gamepad, this one as a keyboard mouse. Alright, so we have our action. Let's hit on save. And now to listen to the action, we need to add over here to the start assets inputs. So again, let's copy
we definitely
the
did all that as well.
Alright, so we've got our shoot boolean that we can test. So back in the shooter script, over here on our update, let's test for that one. So if we're going to go into the start assets input, test for shoot. If it is true, then we want to shoot our bullet. So in order to spawn the prefab, let's add another one up here. So for the bullet projectile prefab, so we're going to have that reference, and then down here we're going to call instantiate. So now we need to know where we're going to instantiate it. So in order to define that position in the editor, let's add another transform as well. Let's call the spawn bullet position. So, and then let's make a game object. So let's make it inside the player armature. So just an empty game object. So this is the position where we're actually going to fire our bullet from. So for now, let's put it roughly there, roughly around chest height. Okay. The only thing is just make sure that it's not actually inside the player collider. So make sure that it's a bit off so the bullet doesn't spawn and destroy immediately. So let's call this the spawn bullet position. And on the script, attach that one. Okay. So then here we can now use that. We are going to instantiate the prefab, instantiate on the spawn bullet position. And then we need the rotation. So for this one, again, we're going to make it face towards the mouse worm position. So let's get it here. Okay, so and then since this is meant to be a pistol, we're going to set the shoot to false. And as I aim and I shoot, and yep, there you go.
Yeah, so the only difference that I see at this point, it looks to me like it could be the speed. Yeah, hashtag clunky. that's definitely today, man. And we're running out of time, and man, I wanted this to be done, but I'm having difficulties, and maybe you guys can help me take a look and see what you think. But in general, we are spawning a projectile. So if we look and we click, left click, we have a projectile, but it's not moving forward anymore. And I'm not exactly sure why. Looks should be continuous. I went back through the script here. Everything looks good. The only difference that I'm really seeing is on the bullet projectile here. We have this speed here. He originally sets his up in the tutorial at 10, where ours.
Vector. So we do that, and then maybe a certain speed
is
all right. So just like
is 50. So you know that 50 should have been fine. I don't know
this, it
the
will
difference.
move forward as soon as it spawns.
I don't know if it's really going to make a difference. Now I will say he's not quite getting to this extent with these VXF, like the VFX. Sorry, hit green, hit red. He's not using that stuff yet. So I can maybe
Now,
comment
testing
this stuff
for
out for
collisions.
now.
Since
Actually,
we
I
made
won't
the collider
comment it
trigger,
out.
we test for on trigger enter, and then over here, let's just destroy this game object.
Yeah, that's because all we really need. Let's see. I know there's an easier way to do this.
Okay, now we need to define a shoot input. So on the input action,
But that's all he's really using is just this. Take a look. I doubt that this is gonna magically fix the situation here. We are getting an invalid layer. Interesting. I think that's part of the script that he hasn't gotten to in the tutorial yet, though. We take a look. If I zoom in, shoot, there's the bullet. And it's not
let's define
moving
another
forward.
action, call it shoot.
What do you guys
And
think?
for this one, this is meant to work like a button, so let's copy exactly the same way as the jump action. So make it a button, then for the bindings, let's add one first of all for the left button on the mouse.
And Andre, take a look. And you're talking about the bullet projectile script here. Multiply the speed by delta. You would multiply the speed by delta time as well. The weird thing is I don't think it for some reason it's just not continuous. Just that's weird. I don't even think. Yeah, it's doing exactly the same thing. Can't even get by these things. They have colliders on them. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much copying exactly what he's got here. If you look at the third-person controller script here, oh, where's it at? I am curious what this set layer weight here is. But there, you can see the projectile shoot script there. That's exactly what he's got. And it is in the update function.
The exact same pattern as over here on the projectile prefab. We need to know where we're going to instantiate it. So in order to define that position in the editor, let's add another transform as well. Let's call the spawn bullet
really
position.
not sure
So let's add both of these in the
what
editor.
he's got going on right now.
Just comment out this line. So
Why
it can
ours is
compile.
different.
Now here on the player script, let's first add the prefab. So drag down, okay. And then let's make a game object. So let's make it inside the player.
The only warning he really gave was to make sure that the bullet spawn, was far enough away from the player. I'll move it a little bit further, but I don't think that's what the issue was. We don't even really have, you could see character controller collider here. It's not even close to where the spawn position is. So it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Yeah. Just for whatever reason, it's not driving. It is not driving. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess what I'm really confused, Andre, is I mean, ours looks identical to his, and so
Armature. So just an empty game object. So this is the position
what's the issue here?
where we're actually going to fire our bullet from.
And since we're running out of time,
let's put it roughly there,
I
roughly
didn't
around
want to do
chest
too
height,
much
okay?
craziness.
The only thing is just make sure that it's not actually inside the player collider, so make sure that it's a bit off so the bullet doesn't spawn in this right immediately.
I'm just trying to figure out
So
what are the differences here.
Bullet position, and on the script attach that one. Okay. So then here we can now use that. We are going to instantiate the prefab, instantiate on the spawn bullet position. And then we need the rotation. So for this one, again, we're going to make it face towards the mouse world position. So let's get it here.
And he mentions in the earlier in the tutorial too that there's another way to do this. So I'm wondering maybe we continue this
position. All right, so you've got that direction.
This tutorial at some point.
So we use
I might just do this off camera. I might just continue the script or continue this, troubleshoot it on my own, and get it going. So that way tomorrow I can show it off and then we can move on, because I don't want to spend too much time working on this.
Alright, here we are, and as I aim and I shoot, and yep, there you go, it doesn't need spawn the prefab, and it goes in there, and then it vanishes. So if I shoot into the ground, yep, there you go. So yep, it is spawning correctly, and it is going exactly towards where I aim. So again, remember the problem that we're trying to avoid, which is to make sure that the... Now let's just add some particles just to identify it.
This is where he adds that.
Okay, so just adding
two
references, some particle effects. So one green, one red. If we hit the target, we get green. If floor, so we've got to speed up those bullets. So there we go. Now I've got that one. All right, so we are correctly identifying what target we're actually hitting. So we can hit the wall, or we can hit a target. Let's just speed up those bullets. So hide the visual for the debug, since we can verify that one is correct. And on the bullet, make it move a bit faster, so maybe 40. So we're here as I am and I shoot, and yep, there you go. Now I've got hit the target, hit everything else, and so on, and yep, everything works great. Alright, so for the hit scan method, it's actually much simpler, which is down here when we do the raycast. Okay, we're grabbing the point, which is the actual hit position, alright. But then over here we also have the...
Yeah, I think ultimately that's what I'm probably gonna do. I'll continue this stuff. Yeah, I wonder if he skips over a part. I'm not sure. But you know, the way he's doing this is a little bit different than the way I do it as well. But I was trying to trust his madness. There's something that we're either missing or it's not working for us. You know, I will say that this tutorial was made 2 years ago. So that being said, you know, there might be some differences, you know, compared to what worked back then versus what works right now. So I don't know. I think what I'll do is off camera, I will continue to work on this, and then I will hopefully get it to a state where we can use it. I'd hate to waste an entire day's worth of work on something that's all of a sudden no longer usable. You know, but maybe I have to come up with my own solution and or my own, you know, workaround. But then we have about maybe 10 minutes left of the tutorial, and this is where he really gets into the good stuff, actually the fun stuff, the animations, the actual gun part. And then just to show you guys, if we skip forward in the tutorial here, if we go to the end here and take a look at what this is going to look like
pretty much
here.
it's done like the demo and just expand upon it. So there's the animator. I've got
This
the base
ends
layer
up looking
with the
pretty
animation.
good.
That's the one that is making. So on this object, it just moves the transform towards the target position.
Take a look. Here we go.
As you can see, very simple
Look at that.
and makes the scene feel much more alive with much more physics objects. Alright, so with all of that, here is a
pretty
really
good.
nice, really capable.
I think, you know, if we can get that into our scene somehow, you know, I think that'll be pretty nice. Pretty nice feature. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty good.
Nice, really capable third-person.
And then he's using, at the very end, he's using like boxes to shoot at, just something with a rigid body. So he's actually applying force to those rigid bodies, knocking those boxes around. You know, so that, you know, we can do that for testing purposes, but we're not gonna probably have that in our scene too much. We'll probably have more like either NPCs that we are shooting at. Eventually, we have some zombies that we're shooting at. You know, things to that nature. Yeah, I guess we could shoot at barrels and blow them up or something. You know, that'd be kind of a cool feature. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Yeah, I think it does look pretty good. And hopefully we can get there. I'm racking my head here trying to figure out what's going on. And I really hope it's not something that's just all of a sudden outdated. And I'm looking through you know, some of the comments just to see if anybody else had this same concept or the same problem, but I'm not seeing anything. So I think I don't want to waste too much of you guys' time just kind of scrubbing this tutorial. I know today was #clunky. Thanks, Andre. And so I think I'll call it a day here. I think, you know, we did make some good progress at least. The time definitely went by really fast. But to prevent us from having another clunky day tomorrow, I'm going to just finish this off camera, and it's really mostly just the troubleshooting part. It'll be mostly troubleshooting, maybe a little bit more of the tutorial, about another 10 minutes worth, and then I will update you guys on my progress. I appreciate that, Andre. It feels like it today. Today was just rough. But I thought it would be fun to get this shooting, you know, mechanic up and running, because I really do feel like once you have a game and you're actually walking around shooting at stuff and you have an enemy, you know, that's really when it becomes a game to me. You know, you can have fun just doing that part of the testing and whatnot. So I was excited about getting that part up and going. Unfortunately, we didn't get there today, but we will get there eventually. Trying to think if there's any other updates. I'm all for any kind of feedback you guys have. There's a better character that we should use for this particular scene. By all means, let me know. Please join the Discord channel if you haven't already, and stay tuned to we have a lot of events in our Discord channel, from you know, from script challenges to sound challenges to prefab challenges, and if you guys enter in these challenges and win these challenges, then I will you know, give you credit in the middle of our stream. I might even include your name in some of the TikTok or YouTube videos that we do. So they're definitely fun to do. So definitely join the Discord channel if you can. And there you'll be able to reach me at any point, send me direct messages, ask questions, or ask for help. Anything you guys need, just let me know. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for showing, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. See you. Thanks again, Andre. And we'll see the rest of you guys.